Hello and welcome to a very special edition of All Politics is Local. Tonight we're proud to host a candidates forum for the Worcester 18th state rep race that's going on for Tuesday, September the 9th. We had hoped to have all three of the Democrats that are running in this race to attend this evening, but unfortunately Mark Dalgevich was unable to attend. To find out more about Mark's candidacy, you can call 508-277-6990 or visit his website, markd4rep.com, or his website on Facebook at Mark Dalgevich for State Representative. I'm your host for this evening's festivities, John Tian. With me in the studio tonight is Lisa Mazinski, the president of the Greater Blackstone Valley Dems. And here in the studio with us is Brenda Ennis and Dave Cortez.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you both for being here this evening. We hope that we'll have a great spirited debate. We have lots of good questions. A note for our viewers, the questions were submitted by both campaigns that are present here tonight as well as Lisa Mazinski. You'll see that across the bottom of the screen when we ask the questions of these candidates. You'll see who submitted the question actually. So without further ado, we'll go right into our opening statements. Prior to the beginning of this, we flipped a coin to see who would go first, and Brenda Ennis won the coin toss. She will go first with opening statements.
Thank you very much, John and Lisa, and the Blackstone Valley Democratic Committee for having us here this evening. My name is Brenda Ennis, and I am your candidate for state rep of the 18th Worcester District. I have a daughter, Molly. She's 16 years old and soon to be entering her junior year at Oxford High, and I'm proud to say she is class president. For the past 11 years, I have been an elected person in Oxford on the Oxford School Committee. I love the job. I do it well. I'm committed to it. And I try to do my best every day for the townspeople, even the ones that don't call me for school issues. The reason that I am here tonight is back in 2007, 2008, my husband had said to me, you know, the phone is always ringing. You get emails constantly. You really should think about doing this at a state level. Well, at the time, it was not good for us. Steve was ill, and I needed to be with him, and he needed to be with me. So we knew that that was something that we would have to put on hold for a while. When Steve passed away in 2009, Molly and I made a promise to each other that we were going to do the best to have the best lives possible. And what we've tried to do is be good people. I think that that's the key, and that's what I've tried to teach her since she was a little child. I never expected to come into this type of a forum. I never expected myself to be that kind of person that would do this. But now that I am in it, I enjoy it. I know it's my passion. It has become my life's work, public service. I've been recognized numerous times by the House and the Senate for my public service. I am an unsung heroine, and I'm very proud to say in that regard, am I done?
Almost.
Very proud to say in that regard, it took a Republican, Rep. Frost, and a Democrat, Senator Dick Moore, to nominate me for that position. And I thank you very much.
And if we could have Dave Cortez give his opening statement.
Good evening. My name is David Cortez. I'm a resident of Douglas, married father of two. I have two children in the Douglas school system, and they're here tonight, as my wife is too. For the 27-year period of 1985 to 2012, I was a trooper in the Massachusetts State Police. Towards the end of my career, I attended law school, and I'm now an attorney in private practice. I retired from the State Police in 2012 after completing my full career, and I retired honorably, and certainly a profession in a career that I'm very proud of. I've taken up a new career as an attorney. While I was in the State Police, I was very involved in union activities, and for over a decade, I was on the board of the Union of the State Police. And I was also first vice chairman of a national group called the National Troopers Coalition, which was an association of state police unions and groups nationwide. As a result, I've done an awful lot of legislative work at both the state and the federal level. I've helped draft, push legislation at the state and federal level, not only to better the lives and working conditions of the troopers that were in the union, troopers and sergeants, but also of the public as far as public safety legislation. An attorney in private practice now in Worcester. I have my own practice. I'm working very hard there. I do as much as I can for the community. When I was involved with the union, I bargained contracts was one of the things I did, and I was involved in bargaining with the state as we were state employees at the time. I know the State House well, I know the people well, and I know how to bargain. I consider myself a very good conciliator. I like to think that if we can get everybody to the table and bargaining in good faith, that you can reach any kind of solution at all if people bargain in good faith. I thank you for your time. I thank the GBV Dems for having us here, and I look forward to this debate.
Terrific, thank you. So Lisa, if you will do us the honors of pulling the first question from our lovely coffee cup here. What do we have?
Question number 5.
So question number 5. Brett and the guys in the control room, if you would pull up question number 5 for us.
Question number 5 is, explain how you have campaigned and how you will campaign if you succeed in the primary. What's your primary intention when campaigning? And I believe you'll both answer that question under the time that's allotted. So, Brenda, you want to go first?
I think
Oh,
Dave will go first.
Dave will go first,
Right.
I'm sorry.
We've campaigned very hard. I'm very fortunate to have a large committee of volunteers who do a lot of legwork for me, and I'm very fortunate to have Joe Hamill as my campaign chairman, a very old hand in the Democratic Party and a very good campaigner. I've learned a lot. Skipping to the end of the question, as far as what's our intention when campaigning, campaigning is talking to people. Campaigning is talking to the voters. It's hearing what their concerns are. Every candidate comes to a race with his or her own built-in concerns, built-in goals, and things like that. But I think what you need to do is you need to get out and you need to talk to people. And when I embarked on this almost a year ago, and when I broached the idea to a number of people I knew in and out of government and out of politics, they told me, you need to knock on doors, David. You need to go and knock on doors. You need to meet voters. I've been doing it all summer, and while it sounds like drudgery and sometimes it gets tiring, I find talking to people an awful lot of fun. I find it very enjoyable. And if you listen, you find it very educational as well. We've banged on over 1,000 doors. I've talked to numerous people. We've gotten great feedback. But more importantly, I've learned what is important to the voters of the district. I've talked to them and listened to them, and I take their input.
Thanks.
And if you, Brenda, you're just going to give me a second to reset our timer here.
Sure.
And go.
Okay. The primary campaigning that I've been doing has been talking to people, inviting them to different places to meet. We've also had quite a few of coffee hours, and I've been invited to quite a few homes for private parties, which have gone over very well. I also believe in going to the, door to door, the door knocking and meeting the people. But one of the things that we found to be working very well for us is the technology-based part of the campaign. As I had said in an earlier interview that I had with John today, I'm up sometimes till 2 in the morning answering my emails and writing out notes. We try to keep it very personal. When we are ready for primary campaigning, we will hit the ground running on the 10th, as we have since October of 2013. I announced early because I wanted people to know that I was in this for the right reasons, and I was in this race to be the best candidate I could be. I think my reputation and my years on the school committee in Oxford have helped me in that aspect, and I just am going to continue on doing what we're doing. We have had enormous increase in hits on the website. Thank you.
Okay. And we will pull another question. This will be my honors. Let's see.
Go deep.
Dig deep. Unfortunately, somebody left a little water in this cup, so we have all of our questions are all stuck together. Guys, if you could pull up question number 8, please. And question 8 is, single-payer health care has become a hot topic of debate. Tell us whether or not you support it, and why or why not. And Brenda will go first on this.
Thank you. I think we all can see that the universal health care system is beginning to fail us. Single-payer health care is something I'm very interested in learning more about. I've started to research some of the laws in regard to single-payer. It has to be the best that we can offer. That is my main concern when it comes to any kind of health insurance, having lived through tackling that mechanism of health care for years. I'm not sure if I'm in favor of it yet. I'm still doing research. I've talked to a few people who have mixed feelings as I do. So I'm still doing work on that, and what I'm looking for is what is the best insurance for health for all people, not just a select few.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Dave.
I submitted the question on this largely because a lot of the special interest groups that I sat down with, I approached, and some that ended up endorsing my campaign, this was of issue to them. And it came up again and again, mostly from special interest groups, and I would say it raised my curiosity. We're all familiar with the Affordable Care Act, and we're all familiar with the idea behind it and what it's supposed to do. I think we'd all agree that the rollout has been less than stellar. And I think we'd all agree that some negative publicity remains even now, although the ACA is up and running, at least in some format, although it hasn't been fully deployed yet. I've been asked quite often about the jump to single payer, and it's one of those things I think that needs more time. I think the American public, and certainly the voters in our district, probably need to be sold a bit more on it. In and of itself, on paper, as an idea, I think it works very well. As far as getting the American public and getting the voters in our district here in Massachusetts on board, I think there's an awful lot of work left to be done. I think coming so closely on the heels of somewhat of a botched rollout of the ACA, we need to tread carefully.
Okay. Thank you. And Lisa, if you would do the honors.
So our next question is going to be question number 12, please. Question number 12 is, constituents in the 18th Worcester District are losing faith in state government. How would you challenge government in a bipartisan, proactive manner to control spending? And that was submitted by the Ennis campaign.
And Dave Cortez will go first, please.
It's good that we recognize that this is basically a two-party state. I think that sometimes gets lost. I'll get to the spending in a minute. But I think the voters in the 18th District need somebody who can work across party lines, and I've done that in the past. I think that the lines between conservative and liberal, Democrat and Republican are starting to blur just a little bit. They're certainly not what they were 25 or 30 years ago. And while I'm certainly a Democrat, I adhere to largely Democratic principles. My campaign manager and I are fond of exchanging the truism that no candidate is perfect for everyone. No candidate can be the perfect candidate for every voter or even one particular voter. You need to cross some lines, and you need to work both sides of the aisle. I mentioned in my opening statement the fact that I consider myself a good conciliator, a good negotiator. I think I'm able to bring out agreements, and that's what needs to be done. If we're going to get both parties involved, not only at the State House while legislating, but you need to get the people of the district involved. And our district is somewhat unique. It lies in a very heavily Democratic state, but there's also a very conservative bent in our district. And I think you need to be open and accessible to all the people in the district, and I think you need to be the representative that represents everyone in the district. And I certainly have aimed my campaign at that, and that's certainly a main goal when I win the election. Hopefully I win the election and I begin to legislate.
Okay. Thank you. And Brenda.
Thank you. This question was submitted by my campaign because we found it to be a very important issue. One of the things I think that's happening at the legislative level is there's no challenge to government. And we can't just sit back and say, okay, this is fine. We have to be able to challenge government and challenge those representatives who aren't willing to work together and cross over party lines. I have found in my experience that working with other legislators, whether it be Senate or House, that if you do not agree, sometimes they think it's easier to point fingers. That's not the way that this works. This has got to be a collaboration of people looking out for the best interest of those living in the 18th Worcester District. The 18th Worcester District feels lost. They don't feel like they have anyone there at the state level that would bring out the good things that happen in this area and also work on some of our hardships. So I think it is up to me to bring that to the table and be able to work constructively to make sure that our towns in this area feel represented once again. They haven't for a long time, and thank you very much.
You had a few seconds left. You can go right up to the end of the red when you see that.
Okay.
Okay.
I will next time.
Okay. And on to our next question. Let's see if I can get one of Lisa's questions out of here. What do you think? Is there a chance? Is there a chance? Is there a possibility? What do we have here? We have question number 2.
All right.
So if we could bring up question number 2, please. Question 2. The 18th Worcester District is a true mix of voters and ideologies. Tell us what talents you possess that would allow you to bridge the gap between the different groups. And this question will go to Brenda first.
Okay, thank you. Bridging any gap, I think, is collaboration in any form. I think that you have to express yourself honestly, be open to hear other opinions, and when you work together, do so with the mindset that you're doing it in the best interests of all people. I'm not a fan at all of this is who I know and this is who I rub shoulders with. I think that actions and solutions speak much louder than any kind of non-comparison. So in respect to this question, I think that it's the best thing to do is to work together and allow others to see you do it, so that when it's time for you to rally those that you need to work with you, they can say, yes, I know that she will work with me, and we can make some progress. I'm not sure if there's the best way to go about that would be to cross the aisle, and that's basically what I would do.
Okay, thank you. And Dave.
I think in order to address a lot of problems, you need to bring everyone to the table. And there need to be a few presets or a few mindsets when coming to the table. Everyone has things that they want to have happen, everyone things that they need to have happen, and they have things that they'd like to have happen. You need to blend those into a mix when you're negotiating. There needs to be a solution where everyone can come out and they can have some of the things they wanted, needed, or like to have. Nobody can feel disenfranchised, and you need to make everyone part of the process. The process needs to be open. The process of legislating is largely a process of bargaining, of negotiating, of sitting around taking different people, some of whom are special interest and some of whom are general interest, and melding some kind of solution that keeps everyone, while not exactly ecstatic, it keeps them at least happy and gives everyone a bit of the piece of the solution. They have to participate in the process. They need to come in and participate so that they own the solution. When the solution comes out, they feel that they participated in it, and they feel that it's something that they have a piece of and they'd like to work on. We legislate for an entire state. We are but one small district in the entire state. We have a small piece in whatever piece of legislation, particularly in the House, that comes out, but we need to keep our partners in the community and special interest groups involved. Everyone needs to participate. Everyone needs to have a say.
Thank you.
Terrific. Well, I've just picked question 10. Can we have question 10, please? Bingo. Question 10. Oh my, it's long. This is submitted by the Ennis campaign again, and it's out of all 4 towns in the 18th Worcester District, which includes Oxford Precincts 1 and 4, Webster, Douglas, and Sutton. Webster is the hardest hit economically. Little improvement is visible on what could be a dynamic and historic Main Street. What is your community plan to bring in residents and political leadership to bring the vibrancy of the historic downtown to prosperity?
And Dave Cortez will go first, please.
And I certainly agree with the sentiment that's echoed in the first statement, or the first sentence of the question. Webster is hard hit economically. At the beginning of the campaign, or when we started going door to door, my campaign manager and I set out one day to go to all the businesses in Webster, to walk downtown Webster and talk to business owners about what their concerns were. It didn't take anywhere near as long as it should have, because downtown Webster is largely closed up. There are empty stores. There are empty storefronts. There's parking. It's near the highway. There's no reason for the area to be economically depressed. There are a lot of things I think local government could have been doing in the past years to address this, and they haven't been done. There are TIFs, tax increment financing. There are grants of all kinds. There are tax plans. We're reading about different grants on the federal level, and I know how some of them are applied. A lot of them are designed especially to start small businesses up in economically disadvantaged areas. And for whatever reason, the local government in Webster hasn't leveraged these to help their town. You get a small business, especially in a downtown area, there's no better way to leverage economic prosperity. You're talking about tax dollars flowing into the town. You're talking about a successful business. It draws customers. Those customers are attracted to and use other businesses in the area. It really is planting a seed and making it grow, and it's unfortunate that it hasn't happened. We need to look at the state level for programs. We need to look at the federal level for programs. There are some local level programs. They are there, but they are not being leveraged, and I think I can do that.
Okay, thank you. And Brenda.
Thank you. I also took a tour of the area with a business owner from the town of Webster, and as we walked up and down Main Street, he kept saying to me, look at these buildings, look at how beautiful they could be, look at the history that we have here on Main Street. And I asked him, what did he see? And he told me what he saw as a vision. And his vision was to make downtown Webster a walking Main Street again. He said, you know, years ago, people would bring their children out at night on a cool summer night and take a walk down Main Street. They don't do that anymore. They haven't done it in a long time. I think with the police station being built on Main Street now is a plus, absolutely, for that area, but also to bring business in. And this gentleman asked me what I would do to bring businesses in, because businesses that come in leave. They don't stay. So I told him, I explained to him that I would like to sit down with those business owners that are here now and ask them what they see. What is their vision? We want, as he put it to me, they would like to see an artist colony, small shops of artisans come in. They would like to have more family-oriented type of businesses come in. So they do have an idea, but they don't have the support to have these ideas put through. So I would try very hard to bring all of that together.
Thank you. And I have pulled out of the magic coffee cup here, question number 4. If we could have question 4 on the board, please. Very short question here. Question 4. Tell us about your endorsements. This question was submitted by the Cortez campaign, and Brenda Ennis will go first.
Thank you. I've been endorsed by the Women's Political Caucus in Boston, and the reason that I was endorsed by them is for my relationship that I have with the women's vote. We had an excellent conversation on the night that I received that endorsement, and they've been watching my campaign, quite frankly. They've said that everything that they see happening from this area is pro-woman, and me being the only woman in this pool of all men is giving me a plus. I'm having a lot of conversation with women that are concerned about their rights, equal pay, and it's good for me to hear this because I can relate with it. I also have been endorsed by Planned Parenthood, and as I had said on during that interview, I am a devout Catholic, and the reason I received that endorsement was because it is Planned Parenthood. It is not planned abortion. When I went to that facility, I was amazed to see no one standing outside picketing because I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it happen. But they also said to me, Brenda, you get it. You understand that women have a right to get counseling and health care in reproductive and sexual health. So for all of that, and being a mom to a 16-year-old, I'm very happy with those 2 endorsements, and they mean the world to me. And thank you very much. I don't see that.
And David.
I've been endorsed by several groups, and they're primarily labor groups, and I'm very proud of that. I'm a big labor supporter. I think labor is the backbone of America. It's what built this country. First of all, I'm very proud to be endorsed by the professional firefighters of Massachusetts. They represent over 12,000 firefighters. Those are men and women that risk their lives for us every day. I spent a long time in law enforcement. I know how difficult and how dangerous a job firefighters have, and it's not a task that I would have wanted to do. Secondly, I have been endorsed by the New England Police Benevolent Association. This is an umbrella union that represents hundreds of police officers throughout New England. not just Massachusetts, throughout New England. I'm very, very proud to be endorsed by some of the people, and matter of fact, some of the people who are on the board are police officers that I serve side by side with, including a Worcester police officer who was the executive vice president of that organization. These are people, again, who put their lives on the line every day for us. And out of all the endorsements I've received, to receive labor endorsements and public safety endorsements is very, very warming to my heart. I've been endorsed by the Central Mass Postal Workers. And again, you're talking about federal employees who are under the gun right now. The postal system is in tough shape, and I'm very proud to have their endorsement. Last but certainly not least, I've been endorsed by the AFL-CIO. This is the umbrella, the union of unions that covers all the laborers' unions, or most of them, in Massachusetts. Very competitive. All three candidates went and presented, and I'm very proud that they chose me to receive their endorsement.
Thank you.
So I've reached in and now pulled question 15, if we could have that, please.
You get another long one.
My. This was also submitted by the Ennis campaign. Spousal caregiving, House Bill 2277, was struck down in the House this past budget season. It was not allowed to be discussed or debated, yet it sailed through the Senate with full support. House Bill 2277 is for spouses to provide caregiving to their ill spouse and receive pay. What would you do come the 189th session of the House in 2015 to see that the bill is allowed to be discussed and debated?
Okay, and David will go first.
I thought so. Certainly it's a bill worth debating. I think really any bill that's filed is worth debating, and it certainly covers a difficult area of our society, what to do when someone in the home, namely a spouse, is put in this bill, is in need of care at home. And we need to support the people who do that, and we need to provide some support for a spouse that cannot work or can only work part-time, lesser hours because they're home caring for a spouse. We talked about insurance. Insurance obviously plays a part. It depends on the level of insurance that you have as to whether or not you get outside care and the amount of outside care you get. It's disappointing to read that the bill did not make it through the House and was never debated. I think it's certainly worthy of debate. If I'm elected to the House, I'd certainly do everything I could within the existing House rules to make sure that it comes to the floor for a healthy debate, healthy and vigorous debate. Any bill that has a price tag, a money bill, is certainly going to have to be, you have to trace it back. You have to put a cost on it, and you have to see how it's going to cost, how it's going to affect the tax base, how it's going to affect the state budget. But you can't do that unless you get it on the floor to debate it, and that should be done.
Okay, thank you. And Brenda Ennis, please.
The first question I would ask once I'm in the House at that 189th session and this bill comes up, I would ask, where is the compassion? For it to be supported by the Senate and not supported at all by the House of Representatives is very disappointing to me. This issue can happen to anyone. Anyone can fall into the category of someone who must care for their spouse. And it even can go further than that. It could be care for a child or a parent or a close relative. So when I received notification about this failure, I really had to ask myself, what are they thinking? And why wouldn't they at least have some discussion in regard to this Bill 2277? I lived it. I went through it. I know how hard it is. I know what you go through when you have to care for someone that you love so much and you know you have to do it alone. People that care for their spouse need support. They need help. They need compassion. And obviously, the legislators that are there lost some of their compassion. And I would just like to bring attention to them that, you know, you have to look beyond just the dollar. There is also other things to look at in regard to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. And I've gone ahead and made my choice out of the bucket, and we finally have a question from Lisa Mazinski on here. If we could have question 18, please. Question 18, I get all the short ones. Sorry, Lisa. What is your strongest interpersonal skill, and how will you use it to benefit the district? And Brenda, you'll go first, please.
Thank you. I think my strongest interpersonal skill is my passion for communicating with the people and hearing them out. I've had a lot of experience in helping people outside of, like I said, outside of schoolwork. I know that it's very important for people to feel that they are represented in a way that someone cares for them, and it's not just lip service, as we have seen these past 4 years from our current representative. People need to be cared about, and they need to also know that someone will be their voice at the State House. I want to take the good and the bad to the State House. I want people to know that this is the place that we can make a change, and we can change the way that we live, the way that we're represented, and we can become part of a bigger and better ideal for our area. Right now, the 18th Worcester District is lost. It doesn't have a representative that will go to the floor for them. So unfortunately, I think that as we go forward, we have to do a lot of repairing and bring back that vitality to our area, and I would be the person that would try to do that.
Thank you. And David.
I talked before about what I consider my skill at negotiating, at bargaining. When you look at the things that affect the district, you're looking at a series of basically interpersonal disagreements, okay? I think I have the ability to bring everyone in and get everyone's point of view and then give everyone a solution that they can agree with. And I think my career has backed this up. I spent, including 27 years on the state police, I spent about 30 years in law enforcement. In law enforcement, you deal with people all day. My assignment was almost always patrol. I had some other assignments that didn't take up much of my time. You deal with patrol, you deal with problems that are thrown at you, and you deal with some problems that you investigate on your own. People aren't always happy to see the police. The key to successful citizen interactions with the police is explaining what you're going to do, keeping everyone happy, getting them invested in the process. Hand somebody a speeding ticket, they're not always that happy. If you can hand them a ticket and they walk away with some respect for you, I think you've won basically a little moral victory there. I work now as an attorney. I was actually appeared in court today as an attorney. Obviously, cases in court are disputes, they're controversies. I was able to resolve the case I had today without going to trial. Saves both sides time and money, saves the court system money. Everybody sits in a room, we can come to some solution that everyone agrees with. I think life is a series of small disputes, and if you're able to negotiate those, make them smaller rather than make them bigger, it makes government work more smoothly and more effectively.
Okay, thank you. And Lisa, you've picked our next question.
Yes, and these are some terrific information we're getting from these questions. So the next question is 16, please. Question 16. Oh, also submitted by the Ennis campaign. And the question is your open door policy only for a select few, or is everyone welcomed through that door? How would you combat those seeking political favoritism?
And we will start with David.
Great question, by the way. People are going to seek political favoritism. It's as expected and inevitable as death and taxes. I'm elected, my door will be open to everyone. It'll be open to all the residents of the district. Anyone who has an issue that's appropriate for a legislator to deal with will find me easy to find and easy to deal with. Our campaign runs on that. We have websites, we have Facebook pages, we have a phone system set up, we have email, we have everything. I spend a lot of time conversing with constituents or future constituents via all these methods. I'm not going to be a legislator that's hard to find. I think everybody's heard of that particular person, that legislator who can be difficult to find if he or she doesn't agree with your point of view. I don't have any problem sitting down with someone who has views opposed to mine and discussing it in a calm, logical, reasonable manner. Maybe nobody comes out of it with their mind changed, nobody comes out of it with anything different than they walked in. But if they are a constituent in the 18th Worcester District, I owe them their time, just as I would owe a supporter their time or anyone else. We owe every constituent the same amount of time and attention, whether or not we agree with his or her position.
Okay, thank you. And Brenda.
Thank you. I think one of the things that's most important is I have an open door now. I've had an open door policy on the school committee for 11 years. I've never turned anyone away. I've dealt with hundreds of emails and family issues. But one of the things in regard to the political favoritism is I'm not a politician, and I'm glad to say that. I am a woman who works hard and gets this. I understand what it takes to do this job. I've been doing it. And I'm going to continue to do it, even if I'm not elected state representative. I have the experience and the knowledge. Political favoritism to me is out the door. I won't even entertain it. But I will talk to anyone who comes my way and needs help. And I'm always around. So in that respect, we have, like Dave said, we have the website, we have our Facebook page, we have our phone system. We are there. We're there, and we are available at a moment's notice when necessary. I'm willing to continue what I've started. So I think that is one of the aspects about me that already proves I have an open door policy, and I'm just going to carry it through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And guys in the control room, I took the liberty of grabbing a question while these guys were answering the last one. If you could pull up question number 20 onto the screen, please. And question 20 was submitted by our own Lisa Mazinski, president of the Greater Blackstone Valley Dems. And she asks, why are we pouring more money into education when all we show are test results? What will you do to change that? And we will go with Brenda first, please.
Thank you. In regard to anything with education, you're right, Lisa, we do pour money into it. But what is happening is we have a Chapter 70 formula that is failing our school districts throughout the Commonwealth. That formula has been in influx for years now, created early in the 1990s by some economic leaders and some superintendents. The testing that we do in our Commonwealth, the MCAS, I highly oppose. Children do not learn all the same way. We all know that. They are not cookie cutters when it comes to learning. And teaching to test takes away all of the inspiration that teachers can offer. I think that we've got to begin to control spending, and again, we need to challenge the Chapter 70 Foundation formula. It's broken, it does not work, it needs to be fixed. The other side of that is MCAS testing scores. People say that we have the best around. Well, it depends on where you live. If you believe that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on a whole has the best testing scores, that is not the case. And if it was up to me, I would fight vehemently to get rid of the MCAS testing, and I'm not even a fan yet of PARC. I haven't been sold on PARC yet, and I still have many, many questions. So that would be part of the, I think the solution here would be to begin with the challenge of Chapter 70. Thank you.
And David, please.
Chapter 70 was enacted in 1993. It is an aged formula, and it's based on different data, certainly than exists in the Commonwealth today. And it probably is time for a change. But I interpret the question a bit differently. Ms. Mazinski is asking us, we're pouring so much money into education, and it seems all we have is test results. We see declining scores in things other than test results. Ms. Ennis just referenced MCAS. MCAS, PARC appears to be the new version of MCAS. I think the question here is whether we're going to teach to a test or teach to some other standard. If you're going to teach to a test, I think it's inevitable in the process you are going to have teachers who are going to do exactly what that phrase suggests. They're going to be less worried about teaching the subject, teaching it empirically, teaching everything that's in there, and they're only going to teach what is necessary for the student to pass that test. That's additionally a problem when the teacher is evaluated on these test scores, standardized test scores, whether they're MCAS, PARC, or any other version of those. If we're going to evaluate teachers on those, I think we're locking ourselves into a system where we teach to the test. We need to take a giant step back. Chapter 70 probably does need to be addressed, but I think we also need to look at, no matter who wins this election, they're going to be a freshman representative in the 18th Worcester District. There's probably going to be a lot of consensus building to do to change Chapter 70. We would have to start a consensus within the legislature to change that. I think I have the ability to do that, and that would be one of my first tasks if elected.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you both, and I've gone and pulled question 11 this time. Question 11, please. I got another long one, John.
You did, haha.
Oh, this is also submitted by the Ennis campaign, and the question is, in many cases, women hold the same positions as men, but do not receive equal salary as their male counterparts. This, as we all know, is an unjust, almost discriminatory business practice. What is your legislative plan of action for equal rights and equal pay?
Okay,
I'm particularly interested in the responses to this question.
and we will start off with David, please.
I would remove the word almost from that. It is discriminatory. I can tell you that unequal pay for the same work, whether by gender or really anything else, is discriminatory action, and it's actionable at law. We can pass more laws, and this is analogous to another debate, to ensure that, or we can enforce the existing laws we have. I do some employment law myself. It's not a specialty or anything like that, but I do some. What happens in a lot of employment discrimination cases or unequal pay cases, pay inequality, is it's difficult to get plaintiffs to come forward. There's usually an investment involved. It's usually an uphill battle, and usually this comes out at the end of the employment term. And very often there are other issues mixed up. I think the answer here, we can certainly strengthen our existing laws at both the state and federal level that guarantee pay equality. And it is, every study that you do, every study that you read acknowledges the presence of it. I think we know it's there. I don't think we need to go looking for it anymore. I think we need to look at how we're going to enforce it and what penalties are going to be applied to employers who engage in this practice. You look at employment law as a whole, this is probably one of the leading complaints that people have, but our system now makes it a little bit difficult to address for the average person, the average worker in our society. If we can streamline that, if we can somehow work out some way of funding litigation in this area, I think that's going to be a big jump down the road.
Okay, thank you. And Brenda.
Thank you. This question I came up with because it is something that it's hard to believe we're still discussing this issue in 2014. Women and men do the same work, and many times women do it better, and yet they're paid sometimes 75 cents below the average dollar for the same titled job. It is something that I have lived through. I have seen it happen, and it is not fair. As we all know, it's not fair. It's not just. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I want her to have better. I want her to be able to say and stand up that she is worth more than the pay rate of just because she's a woman. She is worth more, and she deserves better treatment. One of the ways that I found in discussion with some people that I've had is men need to stand up. The CEOs of some of these companies need to stand up and say, you're right, we should pay everyone equally, we should treat everyone equally. It is not a gender issue. It shouldn't be any longer anyway. So to be talking about this in 2014 simply just is not something we should be doing right now. It should be sorry.
You are out of time. Sorry, Brenda. And I went ahead during the break and picked question 13. So Brett and Matt and Tyler, if we could have question 13. Thank you. I got a long one this time, Lisa. Just to be fair. It seems like the Ennis campaign submitted all the long questions. Pretty sure I had to shrink the font on these. Safety of children is the responsibility of all of us. We can no longer trust that every family in our neighborhoods are providing safe, loving, and protected environments. It is our role as the adults to draw in solutions. How would you address the child abuse issues that face our district? And we will start with Brenda on this.
Thank you. I've done a lot of work on this area even before this campaign started, and we do have a significant issue in our district. One of the things that I'm finding is we need to teach children that it is okay to tell. I've spoken with doctors and counselors. I've spoken with some of our leaders that do adult education in the Webster area, and they agree with that. Children need to understand that these abusers are not people who have any backbone to them. The threats that they make are empty, and they need to know that there are families and people in the school system and neighbors that will help them. It has to become something that children know it is okay to tell someone that they are being hurt. The other side of that also is that teachers in the schools need to have more training, mandated training of how to report incidents of child abuse to the state. We don't have enough in the schools to be able to attack this problem as much as we could. So I think it needs a lot of work, but I also think if you see something, you should say something. And that is one way where we can try to protect children who have no voice in this issue.
Thank you. And David.
Obviously, as a veteran of law enforcement, I saw an awful lot of these cases, and they're sad. And no matter what type of abuse we're talking about, they're equally difficult. I think parents, I'm a parent, my children are here, you need to be vigilant. You need to understand that particularly people who prey on children, predators, they follow a pattern. They insert themselves in situations where there are a lot of children. We don't want to get ourselves into a mindset where we're accusing people or thinking negatively of people simply because they're in professions or volunteer agencies or volunteer positions where they have contact with a lot of children. But if a child makes a claim of any type of abuse, we need to listen. Right? Most of these claims are things that children couldn't make up on their own. They need to be investigated. The enforcement arm is always important. We need to prosecute, investigate very vigorously any type of abuse against a child. We first need to have the input from the child. We need to do a vigorous investigation. We need to support our law enforcement agencies in this. We need to support the district attorney's office. District Attorney Joe Early has a special child exploitation unit. That should be the norm, and I think it is in most counties, and that should be strengthened. But as parents, and it comes back to the parent, as parents or caregivers of any child, we need to be vigilant. We need to watch. We can't afford to be lax for even 1 second, because that's when something will occur that can destroy a child's life.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've now chosen question 6. If we could have question 6, please. And question 6 was submitted from the Cortez campaign, and the question is, tell us about your religious background and how it shapes your ideals.
And we will start with David, please.
Yes, thank you. I am also a very devout practicing Catholic. I'm involved in my church, St. Denis and Douglas. We're involved, my wife and I are both involved, as are my children, in the food pantry there. We work very hard to make sure that anyone who's hungry has something to eat. Please donate if you can. I'll throw in a little plug here. Please come to St. Denis and contact us, and we'd love any donations that you could possibly give. We're always in need of food and financial support. Plug over. I've been a Catholic my entire life. Those ideals have shaped me. What is the Catholic Church about, if you're not familiar with it? A lot of the things the Democratic Party about. It's about helping fellow people. It's about helping people down in their luck. It's about accepting people. I think we get shaped into our religious beliefs at a very early age, and I think they follow us for the rest of our lives. I'm involved in the church. I'm a lector, which is a reader. I'm a Eucharistic minister. I became involved in the church more and more, especially after I retired from the state police and had more time to devote to things like this. It does shape your ideals. I think it gives you a wider view. And I think we're here to help each other. And I think the Catholic Church's priorities are very similar to the Democratic Party's priorities. We want to help people that are in need. We want to help those who are having a difficult time. We want to help them along. And there's an awful lot of satisfaction in that. And there's an awful lot of joy, for want of a better term.
Okay, thank you. And if we could have Brenda's answer, please.
Thank you. As I had said earlier, I am a devout Catholic also. I have been all my life. I think religion is a very personal issue, and I think that faith is something that comes from within you. I don't think it can be taught. I don't think it can be preached. I think that it is part of who you are and how you handle your life. As far as it having anything to do with being a state representative, I'm not sure what my religious beliefs would have to do with that. I'm private with my religious beliefs. I have relied on my faith more than I ever imagined I would. So I don't really pass any judgment on those who have any kind of religious beliefs. As I said, I think it's personal and private, and I would not even entertain discussing religion unless somebody wanted to talk about it. It would be something I would not bring up because of its personal. It's something from within. It's something in your soul. It's not really for, I don't even think, for a debate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I have gone ahead and pulled out question number 14. Guys, if we could have question 14 on the big board, please. Question 14 is about Chapter 70 school funding submitted by the Ennis campaign. Chapter 70 school funding is an antiquated formula which has not sufficiently funded public education. How would you fix this problem? I suppose we've kind of already touched on this with a prior question. Do we want to skip to another question?
I'd agree, yes.
Okay, we can skip to another question, and that's going to have to be our last question. After that, we will be going to our closing statements. We've got about 8.5 minutes left. And if I could have question number 19, please. Question 19 was submitted by Lisa Mazinski, the president of the Greater Blackstone Valley Dems. As a freshman rep, what will you do to improve the infrastructure, roads, broadband, water, and sewer, for example, in the district? And we will start with Brenda.
Thank you. As a freshman representative, I'm ready to hit the ground running. I am not going to sit back and wait to be trained. I don't think I need on-the-job training for this. As far as our bridges and roads and all of the infrastructure goes, that's what I hear from everyone. When are we going to get our roads fixed? Every town, every road needs attention. I think that if this is how slowly we get some kind of action from our legislators, we need to be more resilient, and also we need to come forward and say to them, look, this is one of the biggest complaints of our constituents in this area is getting these things completed and finished. We're starting to see some small fixes when it comes to our roads and our bridges and our infrastructure, but it would be a job creator, which is a plus. It would also be something that the constituents could say, yes, they are working for us, they are listening to us. It will build up our area, and we'll be able to say that, you know, they heard us. I think that's part of the key there is being heard. Like I've said, we have not been represented. We have not been represented in a way that we deserve. So I'm hopeful that I'll be able to work with others and do the job that hasn't been done for the past 4 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And David, please.
In its last session, the legislature passed a gas tax bill which is indexed to the consumer price index. So when the consumer price index rises, the gas tax rises. It's a very small increment. It's a penny or fractions of a penny a gallon. The gas tax goes directly to state road and bridge infrastructure. And it is certainly true that it's crumbling. I can't say that every road needs attention, but there are a lot of our major roads and bridges that need attention. Yesterday's news was a family driving to Maine on Route 495. A piece of a bridge fell through the windshield of their car. Fortunately, no one was injured. If we improve our infrastructure, we create jobs, not only by improving the infrastructure itself, but by creating a climate where business can flourish. Perfect example of that is Route 146. We have one traffic light remaining in our district. Sutton is certainly included in the 18th Worcester District, between Worcester and the Rhode Island line. And that traffic light, if you go through there on 146 in the morning or afternoon commutes, can cost people 5 or 10 minutes each way waiting for the light to cycle. There was included in the bond package several years ago money for a bridge to span over that intersection, remove the light, and allow traffic to flow smoothly. Unfortunately, the governor chose not to include it in his bond cap. As a legislator, I would certainly work very hard to make sure that projects like that are bonded out by Division of Capital Asset Management go into the bond and they're actually built. We need to make sure that the ballot question on the gas tax passes, and we need to improve our infrastructure, and we need to make absolutely sure that our infrastructure is in place. Thank you.
Thank you. And that will wrap up the question and answer period of our debate tonight. I am going to just switch over our timer to the 120-second, or the, I'm sorry, 2-minute timer, 120 seconds, so that we can do our closing statements. And I believe, David, you will go first with a closing statement.
I will.
All yours.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for your patience. If you've made it to this far in the program, I'd like to thank the GBV Dems, I'd like to thank Johnny and Lisa, and I'd like to thank Brenda for taking the time to come out and participate in the debate tonight. I think this was great. It was an eye-opener for me. It certainly should be for everyone watching this. What do you want in a representative? You want someone who represents your interests. You want someone who has the ability, the energy to be able to go up to Beacon Hill and represent your interests in the district. Now, when we say your interest, who are we talking about? It can't be a special interest, and we covered this during the debate. It has to be everyone. It has to be someone who can work across the aisle and work with everyone. I said before in answering a previous question, we have a very diverse district. We're a Democratic state. Fortunately, we have a large amount of Democrats. The legislature in our state is overwhelmingly Democratic. But we also have some right-wing people, and you can't disenfranchise them. That's not how the political process works. Everyone deserves a seat at the table. Everyone deserves a voice on the issue. I think I'm the person to do that. For years, I worked in union work, negotiating on behalf of state employees, negotiating really on behalf of the public to improve public safety legislation. I'm familiar with the State House. I'm familiar with very many of the people who have held office for a long time. I know how to go. I know how to get work done at the State House. I will remain accessible as your representative. I'm accessible now. You'll see somewhere in the program all our Facebook pages and ways to contact us. I, too, spend a lot of time responding to constituents, and I enjoy it. I'm having a great time out talking to people. I'd like to come out and see you. I'm asking for your vote for me in the Democratic primary. I think I am the person that can best represent this district, and I'll tell you that my door will always remain open to everyone in the district and that I won't let you down. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And Brenda Ennis, if we could have your closing statement, please.
Thank you. Also, again, thank you to John and Lisa for hosting this event. We've been waiting a long time for this night to come to fruition, and I appreciate it. And also thank you to you, Dave, and your family here tonight for coming in. You know, I'm not a politician. I'll admit it. I'm not a politician, never have been, never will be, I hope. I am a person who is dedicated and passionate about the work that I do. I've been recognized by the House and the Senate. You know, these recognitions to me are somewhat, you know, humbling. I'm not one to toot my own horn. I'm ready just to help when I can. People come to me all the time for different things. I had a woman come to me because her husband was passed away from Agent Orange. For 3 years, she tried to make sure she was getting all of his benefits. She was not. She called me. She couldn't even vote for me, and she still called me. I had her call McGovern's office, and guess what? In less than 30 days, she has her benefits. So that's the kind of action-driven person I am. I had an aha moment years ago, and I knew that public service was my life's work, was my passion. I have compassion for people. I understand what it is to sit down at the kitchen table and talk to folks about things that they're real issues that they're going through, not able to pay the mortgage, not able to pay the rent, having a tough time paying for the heat, seniors who can't pay for their medication, vets who can't get their appointments. I don't talk fancy. I don't talk, you know, I talk plain and simple. That's how I am. But when you need action, I am the one who is right there for you, and I make sure I have done everything that I possibly can so that the needs are met of whatever the issue is that you have. Thank you again very much.
Thank you. We'd like to thank the Ennis campaign and the Cortez campaign for being here this evening. Greater Blackstone Valley Dems, again, is a political action committee recognized by the State Democratic Party. As such, we cannot endorse during a primary, but it's been a pleasure having the both of you here.
Absolutely.
This has been a great debate, and I hope that we got some good questions out there and got some good answers for people so that they can make up their minds about who they're going to vote for on September the 9th. And I would remind everybody, get out and vote on September the 9th, and get out and vote on Election Day in November the 4th. Democracy only works when we all participate. I would further like to thank our studio audience for their wonderful and respectful silence during this entire hour that they had to sit here. And by all means, whoop it up, guys. Give us a hand for your favorite candidates. So thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you found our debate enjoyable and informative. Good night, everybody.
Good night.